And here we are, finally. So welcome, everyone. Where are we? There we go. Okay, and we get the chat on. And that. Good morning from Nacon, Roswell, New Mexico, Oklahoma. Good morning, everyone. Good evening, I mean. Yeah, so welcome to Sunday Night Live, Monday Morning Live. We're all actually here, all of us. And just to remind you about the format, thank you for joining. Today, I know, good. Wow, people from all over. All right, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I know that uh, the world is we're living in what is it? I don't know what we're living in, but anyway, has anyone noticed? I mean, that time is really moving faster, right? Okay, and this begs the question: what the hell is time, and how can it be moving faster? And then I tried to define time. Actually, it's pretty hard. Try to define time. Anyway, so welcome everyone. Let me remind you of the format. The format here is we're going to spend the first hour answering questions that have been submitted previously, and then we'll spend the second hour answering questions that arise live. Now let's fix this a little bit. Yeah. There. There. Is that better? Yeah. No. What's better? There's no better. It's the same. Anyway, here we are. So let's look at the questions. And move that there. There we go. That's perfect. All right. So anyway, there we go. Okay. Time is for missions. Not sure what that means, but it sounds good. Thoughts on the RGCC test? Whoa, remind me that of when I get to your questions. Okay, RGCC. Let's remember to talk about that. Okay, so that's the format. We answer questions that are submitted now, and then second hour we'll answer questions that arise spontaneously here. Another reminder is that we have three groups. CFC group, which is chronically fermenting cells groups that some people are still calling cancer. But anyway, hopefully you're going to all wake up and understand that Rockefeller is not our friend, and that his lexicon is to be burned. Is it a whole body or preventative care? Beautiful. Ask me these questions. Okay, all right, cool. Now, so that so the three groups: the CFC group, parasite group, and the health and healing group. The health and healing group meets every other week on a Monday at this same time, and the parasite groups meets every Monday at the same time, and the CFC groups meet every Monday and Wednesday at this time. And we have other what? X-Comer? X-Comer. Talk to me again, X-Comer. Let me see what you have to say. X-Comer, come on. X-Comer, where's your testicles, dude? Come on. X-Comer, let me see. Say something else. Can everybody see the chat? Can you see what X-Comer just wrote? I think it's some emotional pus. Emotional pus is coming out through his fingers. Good morning, Sophie. X-Comer. What an absurd thing to say. X-Comer, you're really lost. You're lost. You're lost. I hope you can find your way out of that closet. My God. What an insane thing, X-Comer. Go back into your little den closet with the fetid smell oozing up out of your earth suit. What did he say? Can you guys see it there? X-Comer. It says F you, Jew. F you, Jew. What does that mean, X-Comer? Who? Anyway, what a thing to say. Well, unbelievable. And are you like really angry and confused? Oh, yeah, you are. You're angry, you're confused. And then on top of it all, you're stupid. It's incredible. Must be horrible. I don't blame you for vomiting out your emotions. Don't want to keep them inside you. Anyway, let's just have some mercy on this unfortunately sick, once was human. Anyway, so those are the three groups. And in addition, we meet on Tuesdays with other people, Vanessa and Darren, kinesiologist, nutritionist, health coach, and then soon to be coming up soon here will be what do you call it? An amazing good friend of mine. Yeah, he does need the juice at least. On both ends, he needs the juice. A guy named Tenzin, and Tenzin is a former monk and disciple of the Dalai Lama, and he's going to be having a weekly meeting with us all on a special, on a private Zoom where we will be. Can't see the question. Well, it wasn't. Yeah, it was in. I don't know if you guys can't read this chat thing here, but you're kind of lucky. And then there's Kathy from Phuket. Yes, Phuket. During low season, it's great. During high season, we have to go to Phang Na. Nah. So that's your name. Anyway, so Tenzin will be sharing ways to control the madness in our head, right? Now remember, the mind. One thing about the mind is probably our most useful tool. However, it is also our most formidable adversary, and so that's the problem. And the thing about this, to keep it a tool and not an adversary, you've got to keep it busy. Otherwise, it turns on you. So when you're not using your mind to accomplish something like get to the car, put the books away, whatever, when you're not using the mind, have it go up and down this pole that you're going to tell it to make until you need it. And that pole will be your breath. In other words, keep it busy listening to your breath instead of making it crazy. Anyway. And anyway, so please like, follow, share, and this live and subscribe to our channel so you'll receive notifications every time we go live or have a new post of content. All right, good. And I appreciate everyone's feedback too. Um, um, on all this stuff. It's great. So let's start answering questions. This is from Ryan, and Ryan is the topic is constipation. Hi, I'm wondering if the interactive parasite course is still being posted. If so, I'd like to learn the proper order of operations to restore peristalsis, especially given ropeworm and potentially Morgellons. Things like oxygenated enemas, mimosa, putica, low carb diet hasn't been overly effective due to the impact on the vagus nerve. It seems like there's some neurogenic situation going on where the vagus nerve and impulse fully evacuate my bowels is greatly clamped down. All right. So, yeah. Hi, Georgia and Lillian. Okay. So, so the topic's constipation here. Should we put this down a little bit? Can't. All right, so that very good. And it looks like you're pretty much aware of kind of part of the mechanism of our bowels moving. So you're right. The vagus nerve, for everyone, just as a reminder, the vagus nerve exits out of the back of the lower part of the brain and travels down throughout our entire abdomen, and it is the highway and communications mechanism for the parasympathetic part of the autonomic nervous system. So everyone remembers that there's a an automatic is the word automatic. In other words, it happens without our control, and we have no control on our autonomic nervous system. They call it autonomic instead of automatic. And why? Because that's the way they are. Anyway, so the sympathetic nervous system is that which enlivens you get your muscles ready, and you're ready to do stuff, to move, to run, to fight, to whatever you're to do. The parasympathetic part of the autonomic nervous system allows you to rest and digest, and to all your organs to function, the blood to flow there, and so it's more of a and by the way, that's when we're healing too, when we're on parasympathetic. Good word. It's the opposite of stress. It's the relaxation. It's just how all of our organs function. So all the blood, because it controls the amount of blood going to each organ. So in the sympathetic, all the blood is being kind of routed towards the muscles and the midbrain and down, not the front part of the brain. And the immune system is shut down. Everything's shut down because we've got an emergency situation here. And we have to either run or fight or whatever, climb hills, whatever we need to do. Okay, so that's what that sympathetic is, and it's necessary, right? It's how we get along with. It's how we deal with physical challenges. And the parasympathetic is again how all of our organs are functioning and engaging in metabolism and all that. And so there's a balance between the two. But anyway, it's the parasympathetic that moves the bowels, right? And so it's a very complex process of eating, digesting, assimilating, and clearing. Now, what is constipation? That's actually that's been defined and redefined many times. But in fact, I think when I was in medical school, constipation was, or diarrhea. Let's take the opposite, diarrhea. Diarrhea, they defined it as when you're having more frequent bowel movements than usual. And that's really a typical medical type stupid response. Because if your normal is once a week and now you're going twice a week, that's diarrhea. No. So anyway, it wasn't, but it was at that level of a discussion. But basically, if you want to know, if anybody wants to know what constipation is, or how about if you want to know what not constipated, just walk behind a horse for a half hour and you'll find out what not constipated. Okay. And in fact, all creatures are eliminating throughout the day because they don't have any social stuff like they don't have any social stuff like I can't right now because I'm in a meeting or whatever. There's none of that going on. And there's no self-awareness, so there's no shame that I'm having a bowel movement here while we're talking. They don't have any of that stuff. So they're moving all the time, whether it's chimps, apes, chimps, gorillas, or frogs, it doesn't matter. The bowels are moving. So they eat and then they move their bowels. So with us, it's much more complex. Now, problem is with the food we eat is since it's not the food that we were designed for, most of us, because we're eating food from packages, and I've never seen any package tree. You ever seen packages on a tree? Yeah. Well, anyway, so we get our food in packages, and the packages have labels, and the labels are there to tell us what's in it because we can't tell. We don't know. Why do we not know? Because it wasn't made by nature. It was intervened by the hands of man, woman, human. And anytime the humans get our hands on anything that's natural, we convert it to that which is artificial. The difference is this: the divine mind of God produced nature, which is perfect. Nature has no waste, it produces no garbage. Every excretion, a secretion is necessary for some other process, right? So the bowel movement of one animal is the buffet for other organisms. And it's a perfect system, no trash. Now, anything humans make, which is artificial, produces trash. And that's what we do. We're good at it. We produce trash and garbage. Just take a look around the planet Earth, and you'll see it's become a sewage and garbage dump, right? The oceans. In fact, the oceans are so polluted. So people will say, "Well, can I eat fish?" It's actually safer to eat out of your toilet than to eat out of the oceans. Yeah, the oceans are incredibly polluted. Fortunately, nature has a way of dissolving everything, although it takes time. For example, if an animal dies or a tree dies, it's called biodegradable. In other words, it becomes transmuted back into good soil, and it starts growing again. And there's no excess garbage or anything. There's nothing that can't be used. That's biodegradable. But if you put a computer on the ground, it's going to be there probably in a good 300,000 years before it doesn't exist. 200, who knows how long it's going to take. But eventually the earth prevails. But we're filling up pretty heavily with non-biodegradable stuff, artifacts. So now here's the thing: we eat this stuff and our bodies can't assimilate it, because the idea is that if we wanted to define food is that which, when ingested, gets converted into flesh, blood, and energy. And that which cannot be converted into flesh, blood, and energy must be eliminated. And we'll call that waste, or we can call it poison. Poison is that which cannot be converted and must be eliminated, right? And there's different degrees of poison. There's poison that for example, you get bit by a black mamba. I don't know, what do you have, like, I don't know, 5 minutes, 15 minutes and to neutralize the toxin, otherwise it's over. Versus somebody who drinks alcohol a lot. It's going to take many years for them to perish. And or somebody who eats, horrible food, non-food, it's going to take years. So there's different degrees of poison. But anyway, fundamentally, poison is that which, when ingested, cannot be converted into flesh, blood, and energy. So needs to be eliminated in order for the system to keep working. All right. So there's different degrees of it, and there's no pure food. I mean, even a beautifully fresh organic apple, fresh, you just picked it off the tree. So it's everything. It's fresh, organic, ripe, and it's and you eat it. There's some part of it that will become part of your feces and be eliminated. So everything's got that. A perfect food would be that something you ate and it was only converted into flesh, blood, and energy. And there was no residual. So that doesn't exist. So anyway, the stuff the modern day humans eat is like 90% non-food. And so the body needs to get rid of it. However, because it's not food, it's not natural, and we're eating it, and we're eating it too much volume and too frequently, that the system gets plugged up. That's it. Now, the movement, as you well identified, Ryan, is through peristalsis. Peristalsis is the vagus nerve innervation of the intestines, and it causes a sequential contraction, so that moves things along, right? Now, for example, there's something called the gastrocolic reflex, and that is, and if you may have noticed it, that let's say it's morning or early afternoon, or you're eating your first meal. And eat your first meal, chew it, swallow, gastric stomach, stimulates that peristalsis you want to evacuate. It's called the gastrocolic reflex. Colic for colon, colic, C-O-L-I-C, gastro stomach. All right, so that's a lot of times why somebody who's just eaten has a need to go to the bathroom. All right, so that's how that works. And then throughout the day, it's moving along. But keep in mind that animals or other creatures that without a mind are not are just experiencing life directly. They're experiencing life directly. We don't. We experience life kind of secondhand through a lens of illusion. And the way we do that is that we have the sensory input, and then we immediately turn it into words, pictures, throw it up into this place called the mind, and then that's where we spend our time, right? And we're no longer experiencing it directly. I mean, you want to probably one of the most clear demonstrations of that insanity is you've seen people, you may have done it yourself, who are at an event, a concert or a dinner or watching the fireworks or whatever it is, and they've got a camera up and they're watching it through the camera instead of watching it. Now, keep in mind what's going on there. You're looking at an image that is being recorded that you'll be able to look at throughout in the future. So anyway, it's really, really bizarre. Put the camera down and be there, experience that moment, which we don't, so anyway. But because we live in this world of the mind, we're stressed all the time. We're late for an appointment. My hair today, I didn't today. All this stuff I didn't get there. So we're stressed all the time. Stress means the sympathetic is turned on, the parasympathetic is turned off. The parasympathetic is the vagus, which the vagus is mediated through the vagus, and the vagus, so it's not functioning as much. So we're not having the peristalsis, and so we block up. So if you're in sympathetic, you're not going to have a bowel movement, and we're in sympathetic overdrive all the time. So what, Mara? What are you talking about? Mara, my God. Anyway, I can't deal with that stuff. That's insane. Um, so that's parasympathetic, and we turn it off because we're too involved in our illusion, and that's keeping us all stressed out, right? So instead of like being there at the moment, experiencing something, we're like somewhere else, right? It's like you're driving to a friend's house, right? And you get to the friend's house, and the friend says, "Hey, what route did you take?" You go, "Oh, let's see." You got to think about it because you weren't driving the car. The car was being driven by your body, but you were like thinking about I should have, could have, maybe yesterday, yesterday, tomorrow, yes, I could have. We're all over the place except for in the moment, experiencing the moment. All right, so that's what happens. So basically, part when we're talking, Ryan, when we're talking about constipation, that's it. The other one is to be well hydrated because we're not well hydrated, and especially if you're not eating human food. And human food, sorry everybody, I know there's controversy, which there shouldn't be controversy, but there is controversy about what is human food. But human food is plants. Period. Sorry, sorry, sorry. I mean, I'm sorry for you not realizing that. So anyway, when you're eating plants, they have stuff called fiber, insoluble fiber, also called cellulose, which the body cannot digest, but it kind of is a broom that sweeps everything up and keeps things moving. It also absorbs toxins and stuff like that. It's very powerful, and it serves as it's part of what winds up in the large intestine to be converted into what do you call it? Short chain fatty acids and other things. So it's very very important. Um, yeah. So when you're eating that stuff, um, and you have plenty of water, it just moves along. So that's the one thing you have to be well hydrated. You got to be eating human food, and you've got to have moments. You've got to be able to turn off the sympathetic drive and get into parasympathetic. And if you feel an urge to have a bowel movement, excuse yourself, go and do that. Take care of it. Let that happen. Um, One good way to get things moving is an enema in the morning when you wake up. If you have your tea or whatever you have, coffee, and you've done your meditation and reading and all that. Now you're going to clean your bowels. Do an enema just because the enema will empty the rectal vault and the distal end and perhaps the distal end of the colon. The last end of the descending colon, and then that'll let things move along. But just to get things moving, right? If you do that. Um, because you're not going to get that gastrocolic reflex until you eat. And hopefully you're not eating when you wake up, right? You're going to give yourself a chance to have some living before you eat. Um, anyway, that's it. So now so you're talking about oxygenated enemas and mimosa and pudica and all that stuff. All that stuff's important, but uh, none of it is necessary if one is living a life that is natural. Right. So a natural life would be a life where you eat, you have time for digestion, and we just don't do that because we're eating like on the go. Uh, we're eating on the go. Will enema become necessary? No. So enema, that's what I'm saying. Enemas are only necessary because of the artificiality of our life. All right. Yeah, we shouldn't have to have an enema. Even no animal has to have an enema, right? We look at nature. Nature doesn't require enemas, but we do because we're eating, as I said, we're eating non-food, which can't be assimilated very well. It winds up turning into gluck, right? And it needs to be moved along. And if our system, if we're out of sync, we're not living in the moment with with life, and we're in the world of illusion, and we're freaked out about this and that and that. We've turned off our parasympathetic, and things aren't moving. So what I'm saying is that under those circumstances, being a modern day human in an extremely toxic world, which is both toxic physically and psychologically and spiritually, not both, all three. Because of that reason, we can get things moving by doing an enema. Get an enema, just get things moving, and then give yourself times to keep your parasympathetic alive. How do you keep your parasympathetic alive? Humming. All right, so you can do a simple process of take 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and just go breathe in, and on your exhale go mm, mm. And your exhale is usually longer than your inhale, just naturally. And when you do that, the parasympathetic gets turned on. Why? Because the first two branches off the vagus nerve go to the larynx, your voice box. And so when that's humming, moving, it's stimulating the vagus nerve. Number one. Number two, that in your sinuses, which your sinuses are these hollow spaces in your skull. That humming, that vibration causes increased production, like 15, 20 times more than usual, of nitric oxide. And nitric oxide, as you well know, is allows arteries to dilate and you increase blood flow. And that's what we want to do. We want to increase blood flow. We want to increase flow. We want flow. Stagnation is stagnation, and flow is life. Stagnation is ponds and fetid material, and flow is life and energy. All right, so we want to keep flowing. Okay, now, oh yes, beautiful, Audrey, Audra, like purring in cats, right? So cats, they're sitting there in total parasympathetic. In fact, when I look at a cat, like, you know, Buddha has nothing on cats. I mean, cats are totally in samadhi, all the time. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, uh, give me a second here. Unbelievable. Um, anyway, sorry, you guys. Pretty insane. Um, yeah, so that's part of how we get the parasympathetic on. And if you don't mind, if your mind allows you to do Om, that's even a more powerful parasympathetic. Om. And Om, by the way, for anybody who's a staunch some sort of religion, is not praying to Buddha, it's not praying to Krishna, it's not a prayer, it's not honoring some other god or anything like that. So please get that out of your mind. Om is a sound. All right. It's a sound that's a vibration. It's actually a dimension. It's a place of being. All right. Om. It's not a prayer. You're not forsaking God. See, the problem with religions is they're really like powerful political parties, and people think they're going to, like people that they say, I can't meditate. My God, I mean, because that's not Christian, or that's not Jewish, or that's not a Muslim. It certainly is. It certainly is. We can accept that all those religions accept the idea of prayer, where you're talking to God, right? Right. Okay. So when you're talking to God and you get done with your prayer, do you get up and walk away? No, you just call God, hey God, I need to talk to you. And then you walk away and you don't. That's kind of rude. If you're going to talk to God, at least wait for the answer, and that's meditation. Meditation is waiting for the answer. All right. How do you wait for the answer? You listen with your heart and soul. Your entire heart and soul, you're listening for the answer. And where are you going to find God? In your breath. Because when you first breathe, you're alive. And when you stop breathing, it's over. So that's just it. Your breath it's the breath, the holy breath of God that animates the flesh. It's what keeps, yeah. And when the breath is gone, the body turns back to soil, earth. It doesn't turn back to Nebraska. It doesn't turn back to South Africa. It doesn't turn back to Beijing. It doesn't turn back to Sydney. It turns back to Earth. So, by the way, we're all Earthlings, okay? Earthling. Uh-huh. Just like flowers. There are all kinds of flowers. Are daisies better than roses? Are orchids better than chrysanthemums? No. There's just different manifestations of the divine. All right. All right. So yes, Yahweh. Um, so anyway, I just, I got to bring all this in together. By the way, and there's somebody, I'm sure somebody out, people out there are like angry. They're angry. What the hell's this guy doing? Why doesn't he just answer the question and get on? Because I'm not here to answer questions. You've got Chad GPT, you've got Gemini, you've got Dia, you've got whatever, Claude. If you want to get a question answered, that's where you get it. All right. It's probably not going to be truth, but um, my goal is not to answer questions, it's to give you the understanding so that you can answer them. Because if suppose I just answered the question. Suppose someone said, I don't know how much I should take. And I say, okay, 30 milligrams 3 times a day. You good with that? No. All right. So understanding is the awareness that results from knowledge. And awareness and knowledge are very different. Knowledge is you're the knower and that which is known. There's a duality there. I know this. There's a duality there. Awareness has no object. Awareness is just awareness. And what we are actually is awareness. All right. Because believe me, I'm not my hand, I'm not my arm, I'm not my body, I'm not my shirt, I'm not my mind. So anything that has a possessive pronoun is not what you are, it's something that you have. And I don't know what have means. But anyway. Okay, yeah, I have all these questions. Hydrogen peroxide. All right, I got to get to you guys too. All right, I know you don't like to hear this stuff. Nobody wants to hear this stuff. Okay, so let's get back to the real question. So so here's the thing. Now, so that's what I'm saying, Ryan, is you've got to stimulate your parasympathetic system and turn off your sympathetic. You've got to eat your real food. And the other thing about it is eat a smaller volume, right? Like never get full. Eat like up to, I think in Okinawa it's up to 80%. And I think in a yogi always keeps their stomach is always half full with air. You never get the fullness. Why? Because the digestion becomes inefficient. All right. And just because of the pressure. But you eat enough. And by the way, the thing about, see, we eat unconsciously. We're like eating and talking and watching TV and you're driving and stuff like that. We're just eating is not even, it's a happening, it's not something you're experiencing. What we don't do is and this is a theme, is that we don't experience life directly. Okay. We immediately put it into our mind and we're watching a movie instead of experiencing our life directly. Okay. So while you eat. Like Osho, I love Osho said, whatever you're going to do, just do it. If you're angry, be angry. If you're passionate, be passionate. If you're eating, eat. In other words, so I'm eating, I should be eating, just smelling it and tasting it and chewing it and experiencing it and feeling it go down here and experiencing it. So that would be eating, right? And so in doing that, just feeling it and not thinking, you're going to be parasympathetic. But anyway, you eat smaller volumes and less frequently, so that, because remember, when you're eating, your body is busy spending most of its energy to digest and assimilate and all that. And it's only when it's not busy doing that it's cleaning and repairing. And so we need a long cleaning and repairing time. We need about at least 18 hours a day. All right. So we should be eating within a 6-hour window, 4-hour window, 2-hour window, whatever it is. And then the rest of the time you're not eating, which allows your body to clean and repair. All right. And then you'll get the most out of it. And during that cleaning and repairing, that is eliminated. Okay, so there's ways of eating, Ryan. I'm not sure how you're doing it, but hydration, real human food. When you eat, just go be quiet, be by yourself, eat, and then give yourself a chance and keep your parasympathetic turned on. Do some humming throughout the day. If do yoga, tai chi, qigong, all those. Even a good run, in a long run. At the end, you're flooded with parasympathetic. Anyway, yeah. So that's how it works. And then enemas can get things moved. Now, this next question is by Bryce, and it's but the topic is spinal disc healing. Hi, Dr. Lodi. I found you via Dr. Jen Simmons' podcast. I'm a 43-year-old female, 5'7", 165, healthy lifestyle. Just got back MRI after suffering on and off sciatica nerve pain down my leg, on and off for 3 years. I did physical therapy for the issue 3 years ago and was brushed off any imaging by therapists and doctors, citing my recovery through physical therapy and diagnosing me with entrapment of the nerve. I now know I have a herniation with tears in my L5 and L1 lumbar disc. With this material pushing on nerve L5 and a fragment of the L1. I am active with a 4-year-old and active work and home. Can you address spinal disc healing and wellness and give me some further knowledge to aid in my healing? I start physical therapy in a few weeks and am doing acupuncture and starting with a chiropractor. Just comfortable with his K laser treatment for now. Trying to only squat when picking up things. Thank you for your time and presence with the public for your Sunday Night Live talks. It feels rare these days to find doctors who are healers and really want to see people. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Namaste, friends. All right. Well, yeah, Dr. Jen, I think I've been on her podcast 3 times. Wonderful, incredible woman. Just fantastic woman. Doctor. Yeah, there we are. She's a person who happens to be a woman who happens to be a doctor instead of I'm a doctor. I love that. So, anyway. So now, okay, so sciatica pain. Okay, yeah. So you're right. These nerve pains, the reason you can identify this nerve is you not only have a pain, in your back. You may not even have the pain in your back. You may just have the pain of the nerve going down the leg because as the nerve, we have the vertebra, right? Right, which are bones, and in between each vertebra is a disc that's like a cushion, right? So because we're walking on a planet with gravity, so we need that cushion, right? Otherwise, our bones would go cracking. So that cushion is the disc, and okay, so the nerve is going through there, but out where the disc is, not only is there a cushion, but that's where the nerve exits the spine and goes out to the periphery, right? So it's how you can move your hands and your legs and everything that you feel and move comes out through those spinal nerves. And right where they come out, there's kind of like a bulb. Um, and usually it's that bulb that gets compressed by either the disc wearing out or somehow being damaged, and then you've got misalignment, and so there's all kinds of ways of impacting that nerve, and that pain will be will follow the route of that nerve. Okay, and so the one you're talking about is the sciatica. So when we talk about the L5 S1, we're talking about that one nerve, and then S1 S2, there's another nerve, and then S2 S3. Right. So now 43. So I'm imagining, and you have a 3-year-old, but how old? 4-year, 3-year-old. Oh no, 4-year-old, yeah. So 43, you're probably still menstruating, I would imagine. Um, and uh, but you may be, menopause starts, there's a perimenopausal area, period, right? Where when you're like, it's beginning to look a lot like, no, it's beginning to become uh, menopause. So menopause is what? And for men, it's called andropause. What is it? It's the when the glands that produce certain hormones begin to not be able to do that for a variety of reasons. Most importantly is the accumulation of toxins. All right, because there are cultures with different lifestyles, different food, and all that, who live very long times, and their menopause and andropause don't begin for maybe 30 years after when ours do. So they'll still be menstruating and having babies at 60, and the men will be getting them pregnant at 110. Yeah. All right. So we've kind of moved the whole clock up. We're at premature aging, premature everything. But anyway, so the cessation of production of hormones, right? And so that's what basically it is. That's the part we notice, but that's the result of accumulated toxins. So clearly you need to detox, but we need to get rid of our toxins. So that's one thing we do. Absolutely. Regardless of any problem, yeah. Because you don't have to have a problem to want to detox. See, we separate detox from in life, or like we separate healing from the cycle of life. The cycle of life involves all these things, which is growth, elimination, repair, which is healing, repair, which it's all part of a cycle. But we take little segments and we talk about, healing and digesting, but they're all part of a cycle. And this cycle functions when it's functions most efficiently when it's in harmony with its design, its biology. So as we start to lose the hormones, all sorts of things happen. One of the things that happens with both menopause and andropause is with calcium absorption and utilization. We wind up developing a process where our bones are not as strong. They're not as full of calcium. They've got kind of like holes, not really holes, but just less dense areas. And that's called, if it's just a little bit, it's called osteopenia. If it's more, it's called osteoporosis, which osis is always a condition of. All right, and that's going to result in weaker bones, easier to fracture and to. So a lot of times, disc problems can be a consequence of that. But you're not, you're premenopausal. I'm assuming premenopausal. So you're still having hormones. You may be that, but you shouldn't have any great degree of osteoporosis at this point, unless you've eaten a really horrible life. You've been eating terribly, not terribly. Let me get the morality out of this. You've been eating foods that aren't compatible with your optimal function. And optimal functioning is how we define health, right? We don't define health as the absence of anything. We define it as the presence of the ability to regenerate, rejuvenate, and procreate. And optimal functioning is what health is. So when we're eating stuff that is not compatible with and will not result in optimal functioning, then we're going to not have optimal function. So anyway, now, so other than the contribution of hormonal changes with osteoporosis, there are other things and move, because we're usually stiff. We don't move, unless you do yoga, tai chi, and stuff like that, and you're moving around all day. Which I don't do, and I need to. Thank you, Audra. You're fantastic, beautiful. Thank you. Um, so because of that, stiffness and all that, we put too much pressure on certain parts of our bones. We can also have accidents. There's many things that can bring on that. But once you have it now, I want you to understand something about nerves. Nerves work by going to muscles. All right. Or like sensory nerves go, but anyway, it goes through the muscles and or along different pathways through the body. And there's something called fascia. Fascia is that fibrous substance that connects muscles to muscles. So if you've ever looked at like an anatomy chart with muscles, and you'll see these areas of white. White is kind of like, fascia is muscle group connecting to another muscle group. Anyway, fascia. And these fascial lines go all the way down, and they're basically actually electrical conduits. They actually, and this is kind of like the physical aspect of meridians, having meridians. And we talk about meridians with traditional Chinese medicine, with Ayurvedic. We talk about meridians with in biological dentistry, with through the teeth and all that. But it's through the fascial plane. So muscle is referred to, when we talk about muscle in medical terms, MYO, myo, meaning muscle. So the heart muscle is myocardial. All right. Anyway, so the myo muscle is attached to fascia. Now, the part of the muscle that attaches to the bone is called the tendon. The bone connected to the bone is called ligaments. But it's still the same fibrous tissue. Anyway, so what happens when let's say you get in a small accident, your car gets banged and you go like this, or if you're talking on the phone, you hear some really bad news, and we don't realize, but these movements, and we kind of get stuck there, and our fascia has memories, and it keeps the muscle in that area. So now you don't realize, but throughout your life, you've had, this and that and this and that, and so you've got all these myofascial constrictions that we're not aware of, and they're pulling and pulling like that. And so you go to a chiropractor, and they adjust you, and now they relieve that, and you feel fantastic. And by the time you get to your car or get back home, it's back where it was. And the reason it is because it's myofascial, not the bone, because the bones are, which the chiropractors are working on that, but the bones are being pulled and connected to muscles. So there's another Bryce, there's another type of practitioner called myofascial release. And there's another one called cranial sacral. Now, these are both very, very subtle ways of correcting these kinds of things that have happened. So in myofascial release, they're understanding that they may have to, Shannon, namaste, namaskar, that they may see. Remember, I was saying that you got some bad news, or you had fender bender, whatever it is, that at that moment you got kind of stuck. The fascia remember that. So when you're doing myofascial release by a really talented practitioner, that emotion will be released also when you're correcting it. And so you might be necessitated, you might cry or laugh or whatever it is, and you kind of make that release. Anyway, it might sound weird to people, but it's just the way it is. It's real. And you've got to find a good myofascial release person. All right. Because they can help bring the anatomy back into alignment. Now, if you can't find one, or it's severe, instead of going to, for example, if you went to an MD, allopathic doctor, orthopedic surgeon, or we're going to do surgery. Okay, so surgery is like, there are times it's absolutely necessary, but this is not one of them. All right. But they'll go in and remove and take the disc out and fuse, they'll make you more stiff. And the trauma of surgery. But you gotta have it. On the other hand, in holistic, integrative, alternative medical practitioners, they've developed a technique called prolotherapy. And then there's prolozone too, which is pretty much, I think probably the guy that is the most the yeah the the loudest and most articulate um person uh bringing prolozone to the world, this guy named Dr. Robert Rowan up in Santa Rosa, California. Genius guy, wonderful, incredible guy. But anyway, he uses ozone. But anyway, so prolozone or prolotherapy is there's a needle and it's an injection, and it goes right down to. So let's say you have a disc, right? You got the bone, the vertebra here, and the vertebra here, and it's kind of the disc is the disc is being compressed because the bone's like that, right? And so what they do is so that to avoid that compression and getting surgery, they'll they go right to the bone and they just inject it. So it kind of irritates it a little bit, and it grows. A bone grows in response to it, and they wind up making your vertebra on both ends, on both vertebra, produce bone. They make bone, and they kind of make a bridge, and they stabilize it, and then it gets the compression. You're no longer getting compressed. You didn't have surgery. It's called prolotherapy, but you've got to have someone who's well trained and experienced, and they can do the prolotherapy with ozone, and then it's called prolozone. But that's a non. It's a medical procedure, but it's non. It, it's working with life and not antagonistic to it. It's augmenting, right? So there's that, and make sure the chiropractor you're working with, Bryce, is there are different schools of chiropractic, and I can't remember the one, but they use something called an activator, which is just it's a anyway, it's a very mild movement. So you don't want the the chiropractics that okay, especially in your situation, you want ones that do gentle therapeutic movements in proper condition. Okay, that's what you want. You want that, and so you can do that by and that's why you need myofascial release. So I would look for an experienced myofascial release person who make sure they had prior training, like they were a physical therapist or an occupational therapist or somebody who had already learned, hardcore anatomy. They know anatomy. All right, and then you can cranial sacral. Now osteopaths, DOs. There are there's cranial osteopathy. In other words, there's osteopaths who specialized in that. And the cranial bones have to do with they have an effect on the actual bite, which is the top of your spine. And so it's cranial sacral. Sacral is the bottom of your spine. Anyways, cranial sacral, myofascial release, people that have been trained in that area who were prior to that were trained in some really uh, formally trained in anatomy. It's important, right? The other thing is eating right, detoxing, keeping your bowels moving, going to bed early, do all the things to balance your hormones, do all the things to restore absolute healthy functional physiology, because the body actually knows how to heal. We don't know how to make it. We don't know how. Healing is not something you force on. Healing is something that the body does. It happens. It's part of what the body does, and it's got the intelligence to do it. We don't. We don't know what's necessary. What we should know, and we do know actually, is that by restoring balance, we're not going to fix anything because it's not broken. It's doing what it needs to do under the circumstances. We need to change those circumstances by what we eat, what we say, what we read, when we sleep, all those things. All right. So yeah. So it's just that. All right. Uh, so Bryce, you'll be okay. And I don't know about so you got to find it. Dr. Jen, I'm not sure how far she goes other than the working with the breast. I just don't know. I don't know if she works beyond that, but if not, you could find maybe somebody like a naturopath who does, or an MD, actually, the rare MD who's not stuck being an MD at E, minor deity, doctors. What? You're questioning me? You're asking me what I'm wrong? um, Find somebody who knows this stuff. We want to get your hormones balanced. We want to bring your body and back into balance and make sure you're eating food that was designed for human beings. Next question is Nikki. Ooh, yeah. All right. All right. Real quick. Nikki, the topic is parasites. Hello, I recently went to a doctor because I found 2 different parasites in my stool. The doctor, and he couldn't believe, so he ordered a blood test and stool sample. Test came back negative and said, regardless, he would prescribe for 2 ivermectin. I've had test after test and a lot of blood work done through the years, and he tells me it's fibromyalgia and now possibly MCAS. Personally, I think it's parasites. Oh, by the way, so the answer to the other question too, the first guy, join the parasite group. Go to drlodi.com, join the parasite group. We meet every week. We talk about parasites and protocols and all that sort of thing. Okay. Oh, but it's a very strange thing. Somebody was telling me, because I don't usually see all the comments here, but somebody was saying, or I've been told that people are talking about my that they're commenting on my eyes are red and whatever. And I looked, I don't know. First of all, my eyes are always red. When I was 16, when I was in high school, I used to get called over to the vice principal all the time because they thought I was high. I didn't even know what high meant. They thought I was on drugs. And I didn't really in those days not really know what that meant. But then my eyes are always red. So sorry, God, what can I say? Especially I take a shower, they get red. So just for your edification, I'm not taking drugs or whatever else I could be doing. I don't know. Sometimes I don't get enough sleep. That happens. Anyway, just I didn't even know this till recently. Someone told me. So because I don't see all the comments. But anyway, it's very strange. Let me grab some water here for a second. Uh, uh, all right. Um, I watched one of your videos and on what to take for parasites. I was wondering if you can get them over the counter. The thought of migrating parasites, yeah, it's pretty freaky. But they're hard to get over the counter if you're in the United States, the divided states of America. People that live in the divided states of America, they were told, yeah, like me, I grew up there, that we're in the country's free. So what I had to do is I had to go look up the word free because I wasn't quite sure what they were talking about. And I realized if you're in America, it is free. You're free to follow directions. Yeah, absolutely free to follow directions. And if you don't, you're gonna get pulled over by 1,000 cops. I can't believe I don't go back there anymore. But I remember driving, and when I used to visit like 4 or 5 times a year, driving down the street, and I don't see this anywhere else in the world, nowhere else in the world. Like a car being stopped with like 5 police cars around, and it's like all over the place. Anyway, in other countries that are not so free, you can walk into a pharmacy and ask for 'em. So anyway, basically, to answer your question, you can easily, Nikki, just call my assistant, hello@drlodi.com, and she can help you arrange. She can help arrange for that. Yeah. And because it's first of all, it's hard to get doctors to write the prescription for how we need to take the antiparasitics, which is three times, at least three for the worms and one for the protozoa and one for funguses. Okay, three times a day for 3 weeks, and then a week off, and then three times a day, and then you keep repeating that cycle. But while you're doing it, you're taking herbs to support the liver, like alpha lipoic acid, and N-acetylcysteine, and milk thistle or silymarin, and thiamine B1, B1, and that combination is going to support the liver while you're detoxing. And it's not that these drugs are hepatotoxic, directly toxic to the liver. It's just that they require the liver to be metabolized, and it's a lot all at once, and the liver gets a little bit overwhelmed, and it gets inflamed. And so that's why we notice the enzymes go up. But don't worry, the liver is the most flexible, plastic, and resilient organ that we have, so it's fine. But you got to make sure that when you start out taking these, that your liver functions healthy. So that's why it's really important to have some sort of medical oversight with this. So if you join our groups, I can do that for you. We could share your lab, you can share your labs with me, and I'll be able to help guide you on that. So that's what we do. One of the things we do there. So please join the group, and we can do that. Like either go to drlodi.com and join the parasite group. Okay, drlodi.com. And and whether or not whether you have, of course they're not going to find it. So that's the whole thing with these things. And there's only one blood test that's any good. It's called the UPDX, Universal Parasite Diagnosis. DX is diagnosis. UPDX, Universal. It's a blood test that looks at mRNA and mDNA. It looks at the different kinds of genetic markings to see whether or not of different organisms. So it can tell what your body what's been in there. It's probably the best test that there is for detecting whether or not there's not whether or not, but which parasites are there, because we've all got some parasites. And you can do that now, but remember, if you do this certain kind of combination. Oh, thank you so much, Nessie Mills. Am I saying that right? Nessie Mills. Hey, thank you so much. I'm so distractible. Do I have ADHD? Yeah, maybe I do. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as Alzheimer's. There's no such thing as diabetes. All these stuff are the stuff they made up. This is part of the Rockefeller lexicon, which we must take formally and burn it at the stake. Yes, the Rockefeller lexicon. All right, because it's got us believing in gargoyles and dragons that are after us, right? All right. So I gotta get to these guys' questions. I just wanted to say, dear Magdalena, 4 kids. I have a rectal thing. I need to come to your clinic. I'm in Europe. Do you have a clinic in Dubai? Okay, Magdalena. Please join the CFC group, drlodi.com, or even the Health and Healing, whatever group you can. And every Saturday, 4 p.m. Thai time, and I know Dubai is only a couple hours difference in time. We have a meeting and with the small group of people, and we can talk about that. Now I have a clinic in Thailand that I'm building right now. It should be ready in I'm hoping 4 months, 5 months. So it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great, fantastic. The healing center, I'm still working on that, but this will be like a clinic, a full on, where we can do everything we need to do. Yeah. But currently, no. But I can still guide you through all sorts of stuff. And then I have a center. As you know, I have my clinic in the United States, which been to Arizona 21 years. So you're happy to have you go there. So, but anyway, so Magdalena, please, because yeah. So I want to help you with the fast. By the way, the book is out, I think, on Amazon, you guys. From what I know, the book is out, right? Right. On Amazon. Uh, Hello, Dr. Lodi. I wanted to arrange a Zoom consultation with you as soon as possible regarding my dad's throat condition. You are with family and I can help you. Okay, beautiful. At KYJ9. Go to hello at drlodi.com, hello, drlodi.com, and you can contact my assistant, Fa, and she'll arrange for a Zoom, or you can just go to the website, drlodi.com, drlodi.com, and there's a way there. Yeah, paperback and and hard and a hard cover, hardcover, paperback, and uh, e. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's out. Anybody confirm that? I know. I know. I was told yesterday that Amazon was just waiting for us to say okay. Anyway, I don't know. Hammy, can you see that? Are we up? Are we up on Amazon yet? Anyway, it's called Therapeutic Fasting, a manual for metabolic reset and renewal. I think that's the manual for metabolic reset and renewal, something like that. And the cover, it's got the DNA in water, because the DNA in water is gonna. Yeah, water is the elixir of life. It's not there. What the heck? I was told yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday for us. Today's it doesn't matter, right? Why the hell isn't it there? What the heck? Let me ask. Let me ask Paul. All right, so I don't know. Listen, if it's not there, it's going to be there tonight. I mean, today. I don't understand it. Anyway, it's done. It's been formatted. I had to find a freelancer to reformat it, even though we had a beautiful format. By the way, the hard copy is going to be the original formatting that we did at the show that my son did. Beautiful. It's just beautiful. Where you just nice. Hold it in your hand. It's nice. And the information is very valuable because it's a manual. It's like a how-to. It's a cookbook. It's for fasting. And it's not there. Unbelievable. Rafa's going to help us figure out why the heck it's not there. Uh oh, so Jeanette is saying it is there. Okay, so just type in therapeutic fasting. Listen, try this because really, it's really important if you, and I appreciate it. Anybody who writes a review really like right away, like within the first 5 days, will Amazon will let it stay up. Otherwise, it falls into some dark hole. But anyway, you can write a review, but you've got to search it organically. So maybe put in the thing, say fasting book, Dr. Lodi or something, and see if it takes you there. I mean, it could be interesting because anyway, so once you purchase it, then you can write a review, and that would be appreciated. So, but they'll only count it if you bought it. But so that way we can keep it alive out there. Otherwise, it'll sink into some into Jeff Bezos' hole. And that is think about that. How disgusting is that? Jeff Bezos. I mean, so Jeanette, thank you so much. So it is there. What do you think of your body's many cries for water? Yeah, 100%. 100%. I want to tell you something about it's a very bizarre phenomenon that occurs. It's somewhere around the age, and I don't know, I've never, it's around the age of, it's the early 20s where our thirst, and now it may be happening earlier because of everything's happening earlier. I mean, we have, we have 7-year-olds who have diabetes type 2. I mean, it's ridiculous. But what happens is the sense of thirst gets confused with hunger. And so people, instead of like, because I remember when my kids were adolescents, they were always drinking. They had whatever they were drinking. Um, they had smoothies, water, juices, whatever. They were always drinking and not eating all the time. Anyway, that sense of thirst gets confused with hunger, and people think they're hungry all the time. And so, in terms of to Mara's point there of the many cries for water, is that we don't understand that our body needs minimum 70% water. Magdalena, join it. Okay, join. Go to drlodi.com. You got to join. We got to get going today, and then I'll be able to talk to you directly tomorrow if you join. Yeah, the name of the book is Therapeutic Fasting. So where's Hammy? Hammy, can you put the picture of the book up so people can see it, please? Oh, I think, yeah, good point there, Jeanette. I don't know how these things work. Uh, ebook on website. It used to be, but now there's some rule. I don't know. I don't know, but we're gonna have it on the website, but somehow, and that'll either be the ebook or the PDF downloadable, which is better. Anyway, she not gonna show it, and I can't show it to everybody. So anyway, Hammy, I'll tell you what. If it's confirmed that it's on Amazon, and then just put a picture of it and the click, and just put it out on all the social media, just so people can see what it looks like and how to order it. Okay, we need to do that, Hammy. All right, let's go back to questions here. Now, what was the question? Oh, yeah, the one is RGCC. Everybody, most people, if you're dealing with CFCs, you've probably heard of RGCC. It's a Greek lab that gets a sample of your blood, and they look for circulating tumor cells, and then they do different tests. And the idea is to find out chemosensitivity and resistance, and also the effect of other substances on the CFCs, like vitamin C, curcumin, whatever. I used to use that test, but I quit in 2004. 2004. That is 22 years ago. I stopped using it. Right? Yeah. And the reason I did is because we're looking at circulating tumor cells. Now, as we know, a tumor, 0.01% of the tumor can successfully metastasize, spread, because it's a stem cell. A mature cell cannot metastasize because it's inflexible metabolically and it can't deal with stuff. But the stem cell is extremely flexible, can live on anything, and just is able. Anyway. It's a stem cell. It's designed to keep life happening, so it's very flexible. Now, so therefore, the cells that are circulating, the circulating tumor cell, only 0.01% of them can possibly metastasize, which are the ones you have to be concerned about. Therefore, that test is going to give you have a 99.9% chance of doing tests on cells that are irrelevant. So therefore, and this whole thing about liquid biopsy, these are just names. These are sales gimmicks. Find a guy, a doctor, an oncologist by the name of Robert Nagorny. He's in Long Beach. Brilliant, brilliant man. Um, Long Beach, California. Or he used to be. I'm sure he still is. Robert Nagorny. By the way, he looks just like that guy on used to be Star Trek. The bald guy. Looks not. Yeah, when I went to his office and talking to him, I really think it's that. What's his name? Anyway, I convinced it's him, not Robert Nagorny. Anyway, um, uh, Samara still doesn't see it. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. The book's going to be there within a few hours. Okay. So Dr. Robert Nagorny, what I love about him is he is, and by the way, he's very conventional. So when I used to work with him, and he said, and he saw that I had good results. So he had respect for the situation, but it was but he's very anyway. What he says is you need the live tumor. You've got to be testing live tumor. What does this tumor? So what he requires is a fresh biopsy to have been collected in a certain. Yeah. So there's still no book. Anyway, he gets live tumor, and so like for example, let's say if you're in another state, the surgeon takes out the sample of it, puts it, and you've a special medium that it needs to be put in, and it's got to get to him within 24 hours. And or you can just go to Long Beach, and he's got a hospital right next to his clinic. And so with the real tumor, they can do testing, and then that testing you can rely on, but not circulating tumor cells. That's also the RGCC test. Okay. So yeah, and here Brad is corroborating this. Yeah, but it's just true. So Robert Nagorny, really amazing man, smart guy. Probably I've never met anybody that understands chemotherapy and CFCs like he does. Brilliant guy. Yeah, I don't know why he hasn't figured out about health, and physiology instead of being lost in the world of pathology and disease. Anyway, but for some reason the book's not there. So it's got to be a random search then, Joanne. So it's got to be, you got to be able to get there randomly. All right. So that's my answer to the RGC. I don't, it's my opinion. It's just my opinion, and I might be wrong, but I don't think so. Okay. And that is, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. It's a waste of money. All right, so here, I'm trying to get back to your questions, you guys. Now's the time to send in those questions. Remember that I thought were really interesting, but it was the wrong time. Okay, so here's one question from Judith. It says damage from Giardia from well water. No doctor did any testing. Said I have ulcerative colitis, bleeding of intestines, whole body pain. No doctor or governmental information. Last year, I researched water wells in Western Kentucky and found Giardia cause of ulcerative colitis. X told me it was not the water. I took Asacol for years. Now I take lubiprostone. County Health do not notify residents of this problem. I lost lots of blood. I drink electrolytes in distilled water. Wow. Judith. So I mean, Judith, I'm hoping you were able to, 'cause in spite of uh what doctors don't recognize, I hope you took care of it, right? It's crazy. Um anyway, just so you remember, it's a protozoa. So Giardia is a protozoa, and the antiprotozoals are metronidazole, tinidazole, and nitazoxanide. I recommend nitazoxanide because it's broad. It also gets a few of the worms as well. But tinidazole would be second choice. Metronidazole, the people get problems with that. Even though metronidazole and tinidazole are cousins. Yeah, but I would recommend nitazoxanide, 500 milligrams. Excuse me, 3 times a day. 3 weeks on, 1 week off. 3 weeks on, 1 week off. All right, so here's a question twice from MS Deer, and the question is what causes SI joint injury that creates massive pain and heat in the sacral area, shooting pain to the outer hips. Hurts to stand up and move seated. Comfort. Sends tingles to front and lower leg and outer 3 toes. Well, that certainly sounds like what do you call it? It's freezing again. That certainly sounds like is that on? No, it's not on. The other one's on. That certainly sounds like sciatic, which is just specific nerve. But anyway, what causes it? I think we discussed earlier. It can happen from osteoporosis, which develops just kind of less the bones lose calcium; they're not as strong. It can happen from stiff, rigid inflexibility and or minor or trauma, whether it's major or multiple minor ones. But there are many things that can do that. And so we talked about that, and I hope you were able to you were here to hear that, and how to deal with it. So now wait, I had a question on what was that question? Remember on WhatsApp, you guys? I mean, on Instagram. What was that? It's a great question earlier. Remember? Oh, where was it? Anyway, here on Instagram. On Instagram. It's a question from Viol. Viol. Should I take my natural compound of thyroid hormone plus Wakame and all the supplements for my thyroid for about a year and a half to fix? Yeah. So again, thyroid it comes up quite often, and um, and basically, let me try to make this short and concise. Thyroid hormone T3, T4, the 3 and the 4 refer to iodine. You got to have enough iodine to be able to make the T3 and T4. Thyroid gland makes the T3 and T4. We don't get enough iodine because we don't eat enough sea vegetables. It didn't always used to be that way, that you had to eat sea vegetables, but because of the changes in the whole entire biosphere ecosystem, brought brought to you by yours truly, the human race. Oh, the race to where? What are we racing to? It's crazy. We're racing somewhere, not realizing that we're already there. It's crazy. Anyway, so we don't get enough iodine. The Japanese do seaweed all day long. And therefore, that deficiency causes all kinds of problems. You can wind up with hyper or hypothyroid. So you got to do is replace the iodine consistently. It takes about a year and a half to replace it. So at a higher dose, let's say 25 milligrams a day, once you get to the point where it's been replaced, then you go to a maintenance dose of 12.5 milligrams a day. And you can get that from blue galls or from iota. And then while you're doing it, you're going to be taking a thyroid supplement such as Thyrovance or Armor or any of the glandulars, or if you don't like that from animals, you can get synthetic levocetiroxine with triiodothyroxine. So Synthroid, which is T4, and a T3 cytomel in the proper ratio. And you're going to take that and titrate it to how much you're going to take. You're going to take enough until your basal body temperature, which is your armpit temperature, taken on 3 to 5 consecutive mornings before you get out of bed, go to the bathroom, you take the temperature. If you and you do the you take the average, and if the average in Fahrenheit is less than 97.8 or in Celsius is less than 36.8, then you have functionally hypothyroid and you need the thyroid medicine, but you're still taking the iodine. Anyway, yes, you can get through this. Let me see. Well, I had another question. You guys, what's that? Great question. Oh, okay. Uh, this this is from Sage One. Where'd you go, Sage? Oh, come on. I haven't had a biopsy, chemo, or reaction. Have done all alternative modalities, but my breast CFC is currently spread to my lymph and liver. Thoughts on cryoablation or RGC? Yes or no? So okay, so Sage dot on Sage dot okay, on Instagram, and for everybody else. You haven't done a biopsy, beautiful. Chemo or good. Okay. Right. And you know that it's CFCs. Okay. It's in your lymph and your liver. So that means you must have done a PET scan of some sort or an imaging. So to know that it's in your liver. Excuse me. And so you don't need to put a particular name that they're going to put on it because invasive ductal or the triple positive lobular, whatever those names are irrelevant. Okay, it's just for their sales algorithm. All right. So now, yes, there is so much you can do, and if tumors are either growing and or spreading and not resolving, one or possibly both of these two situations are happening. Number one, the toxicities, the cumulative toxicities, have not yet been eliminated, and therefore the process is continuing to happen, and or the immune system is being completely truncated, rendered ineffectual by either the tumor microenvironment or by the fact that we live in a very toxic world and just our immune system's in trouble. So it's probably both the tumor microenvironment and the fact that we live in a world like that. So so we need to address that. So in other words, in terms of detoxification, right, get rid of the toxicities. You got to start with the head because the head is we've talked about this, and we do it often. It's biological dentistry. We've got to make sure there are no cavitations, there's no root canals, there's no metals, and that our joint, our mouth is the bite is aligned in alignment. There's also many things, periodontal conditions. So there's many things that you need a biological dentist for to find that out. Because if you don't do that and you have a problem there, no matter what you're doing, additionally, it's not going to resolve because it's kind of like it's still plugged into the wall. You got to unplug it from the wall so that the lights go out. So that's basically what we do. And in the biological dentistry, but you need a real biological dentist. And the fundamental bottom line would be a dentist that's been certified, not just a member of, but certified by the IAOMT. And you can look that up, IAOMT.org. International Association of Oral and Medical Toxicology. Yeah. Anyway, and then you can find a dentist near you who's had this. So remember, regular dentists are like regular doctors. They're basically they've graduated from the Rockefeller Institute. Where I can't remember where their school was or what country. It's Rocky and see, I hate to use the analogy because I liked Rocky and Bully. But anyway, I guess sorry. So Rocky and the gang have really changed our perceptions because we believe their language. So we're gonna get out of their language. Anyway, so we don't want to put a name on it. We want to do is just have it resolved. So in addition to the biological dentistry, which you're gonna have by a real biological dentist, you need to do a cleanse. You got to clean your body thoroughly. And the simplest, easiest, and way to do that is with a prolonged juice cleanse. That's vegetable juice with just enough fruit to make it delicious. It's got to be delicious. And don't worry about fructose and glucose in the amounts that'll come from adding a little fruit. I'm serious. And I'll talk about glucose and all that stuff at another time, and I have before. But so you drink 3 quarts a day or 3 liters, depending where you are in the world. 3 quarts, 3 liters a day, which is a lot. And if you can't, you just drink extra water. You drink as much as you can, but you're flooding yourself with highly nutritious substances because juice is with a good, well-designed juice, vegetable and fruit, mostly vegetable, 99% vegetable. But enough fruit to make it delicious. If you're doing that, you're having all your nutritional requirements met except for fat and fiber. Very, very important. Okay, so you're doing 4 liters a day, and you're basically cleaning the water in the equipment. Very, very. That's got to happen. Colon hydrotherapy, enemas, that's got to happen. Going to bed early. There's all sorts of stuff. So please, I entreat you to go to drlodi.com and join our CFC group so we can meet, you and I, and the rest of our group every Monday and Wednesday at this time. Every Monday and Wednesday at this time. And talk directly about your situation and help guide you through it. So we can do that. So please join drlodi.com. All right, now, like it's freezing. My God, I don't know how to unfreeze it. I'm trying not to leave the camera here. So how can I? Now, okay, so we got, should I take my natural compound thyroid hormone plus Wakame? Okay, should you? Yeah, well, Wakame is great. If you're eating a lot of Wakame throughout the day, you're eating kombu, like eating miso soup. The other thing is if you have breast or prostate, any kind of CMC, or not any kind, located, originating out of any particular tissue. Soy's got phytoestrogens, which are bind to the beta receptor, so they're very, very helpful in eliminating tumors. So if you're eating miso soup with tofu and wakame and a couple bowls a day, that's going to be great. And then you can also eat edamame and natto, and you're going to have lots of that good stuff. All right. But for the iodine, yes, the wakame and kombu and kelp, any of the other. I got to turn the air conditioning off. Hold on one second. Wow, that's better. Wow, freezing. It's not freezing outside, just inside. Okay. Um, so that's Instagram. Okay, what do we got going on the other guys? Here's a question from Joanne Kramer. What do you think of the LifeWave 39 stem cell patch? I don't know about that. Stem cell patch. Now, let me just look that up real quickly. What was it again? LifeWave what? LifeWave 39. Okay. It's a non-transdermal wearable wellness patch marketed to enhance vitality, strength, and stamina through proprietary phototherapy technology. Rather than delivering drugs, chemicals, or stimulants into your body, the manufacturer claims that the patch reflects body's natural infrared light to stimulate the skin. It's micromodulation phototherapy. The patch uses organic nanocrystals, which independent reviews describe as mixtures like sugars and salts, to reflect specific wavelengths of light back into the skin. LifeWave claims that this reflection elevates a specific copper peptide in the body known as GHKCU. All right, I'd have to study this because I really don't know. It sounds pretty amazing. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know how real it is and what all that. But it certainly doesn't sound dangerous. But unfortunately, I don't know about that answer. It sounds amazing, Joanne. Okay, here's Amanda Jana. What do we do if we've had a total abdominal hysterectomy and we're menopausal to strengthen our bones? Okay. So if you've had when you say total abdominal hysterectomy, I'm assuming that you probably mean when you say total abdominal, that usually that includes abdominal hysterectomy, which is uterus, and oophorectomy, which is ovaries, right? So because if you were put into menopause, you had to have had your ovaries removed. Because even if just your uterus was removed, but you still had ovaries, you'd still have hormones. You just wouldn't have a uterus that would, develop lining growth and then shed it as a menstrual cycle period. Like you still have the hormones. So I'm assuming you didn't. So you're in menopause. So that's called surgical menopause versus, natural menopause or medical menopause, which they can do with drugs like Lupron. But anyway, it's the cessation of hormones. So what do you do? You do what we were talking about, and that is, first of all, you want to eat a very, very alkaline diet so that you're not, your body's not taking calcium out of the bones to neutralize the acid. An alkaline diet. An alkalinizing diet is plants, period. Sorry. Number two, you want to get some biologically identical plant-derived, botanically based hormone to balance your hormone system to a healthy 30-year-old menstruating woman, cycling woman. Okay, not that you're going to start menstruating or anything because you don't worry, but you want to restore that balance because that's a healthy balance. You want to balance your hormone system. You want to balance all systems, but specifically what we're talking about now with this, and you want to have enough vitamin D3 because that enhances calcium absorption from the gut. You want to have and adequate amounts of testosterone, whether even when women need testosterone, just like men need estrogens. But you want to have enough testosterone because the estrogen allows it to be absorbed, and the estrogen tells the kidneys to turn vitamin D2 into D3, which helps with more absorption. And then the testosterone says, okay, now that we got the calcium, let's put it in the bone. So you need all of that, and your parathyroid glands, which are at each of the four corners of your thyroid, are kind of like the managers of calcium. And you've got two hormones there. You've got parathormone, which takes the calcium out of the bones, and you've got calcitonin, which puts calcium back into the bone. Anyway, this whole big harmonic interplay has got to be reestablished. So that's why. So that is biologically identical hormone replacement. We're not in excess, but just to mimic a healthy menstruating female. We want to restore that. We want to make sure we got vitamin D. And then and all the things to health, movement, going to bed early, eating real food, stop eating 4 to 5 hours before sleep, eat within a 2 to 6 hour window. Don't eat the rest of the time. Learn to do Tai Chi, Qigong, or yoga, or any movement, flexible movements, do that. And then also have movement throughout the day, like every 90 minutes, engage in 10 minutes of active, movement to keep your everything flowing and all that. All right. And that's how you deal with it. Now, the other thing that can reverse osteoporosis in 40 treatments is, when you get older, hair grows out of your ears. I don't think women have that as much as men. Yeah. Anyway, I used to just have to shave here, and now I got to shave my ears. Crazy. Another thing that's weird about aging is that, well, at least for Caucasians, their nose and your ears keep growing. Nothing else is growing, right? So your nose gets bigger. The irony and sardonic humor of aging. Anyway, I think, did we answer that question? That was a disodium EDTA, not calcium disodium EDTA, but just disodium EDTA, done properly by a well-trained deliverer of medical care. It's a 3-hour treatment, which is why people wanted the calcium one, because you can do it quickly. But you want the 3-hour treatment, and the person is doing is got to be measuring your creatinine and your body weight every time to determine the exact dosage, but it's still going to be 3 hours. So it's anywhere from 3 grams to whatever. 3 grams is what you're supposed to be getting, which is 1 gram per hour. Anyway, after 40 treatments, you can do this, and you can test it by getting a baseline bone density test, and that should demonstrate osteoporosis. At the end of the 40 treatments, you do it again, and you'll find that the osteoporosis has completely resolved. And that's pretty amazing. And I have seen it. I'm not just saying it. I learned it. I was trained in it, and then I said, "Well, let's do it." And we did it, and then whoa! I couldn't believe it. The bone density test was completely back to no osteoporosis at all, no osteopenia. Pretty amazing. However, it won't stay that way if you're not doing the other things we talked about, which is keeping your hormones balanced, living healthy, and vitamin D. Yeah. And that means thyroid balancing and adrenal balancing, because all the hormone systems, all the endocrine, they all work together. It's because, remember, there's no individual independent system within the body. It's one big system that just works together. And so we got to get away from that fragmented perspective that is given to us by the linguistic straitjacket of Rocky and the gang. All right, so we got to get away from that. So they're all it's a beautiful orchestra, and there are woods and there are woodwinds and there are brass and there's strings and there's percussion, and they all have got to be tuned up so that you have the symphony. You can't just tune up one of them. All right. So we're talking about pituitary hormones, right? We're talking about thyroid, adrenal, sex hormones coming from the gonads, all of them. And then there are other hormones that we're not even aware of that the kidneys make, like erythropoietin, and like the natriuretic hormone that the heart. And so there are, but it all gets hard. We need to approach health by reestablishing balance in all systems. And we do that by getting rid of toxins, all toxins, and providing for the body only that which it needs, which is human food and water. And then in addition, rest, appropriate rest, go to bed early, eating schedules, 6 hours, 5 hours before sleep, stop eating. And all this stuff is necessary to be healthy, because health can only be obtained in one way, and that is by living healthy. There's not another way. You're not going to buy it. You're not going to demand it. You're not going to negotiate it. Nah. You can earn it. You can earn it. Okay. And so whatever we have, we've earned. Knowingly or not, we've got a garden here. It's called our body, and we're the gardeners. And if we don't tend to the garden, there's going to be other seeds flying in there, and they're going to be growing, and you're going to have a harvest. So that's it. And there's no other way to look at it. Okay. You guys and ladies, this is truth. And now, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. In fact, I know so. And it's not me being arrogant. It's just that I've been given the blessing of being able to. So I've discovered the truth. It's not my truth. It's the truth. I don't own it, and I'm not taking credit for it. And I'm not asking you to pay me anything for it. I'm just saying, here's the truth. This is just the truth. And the other stuff is not the truth. By the way, the thing about opinions, I want to tell you something. Yes, everybody's entitled to an opinion. An opinion is your perspective on something when you don't know. Because if you know, it's not an opinion. 2 + 2 = 4 is not an opinion. Nah, it's not an opinion. It's just the truth. Okay, 2 + 2 is 8 is an opinion. All right, so understand that. The truth is not an opinion. Okay, here, so quickly. CA 19-9 for 45 years. I've had an MRI of my pancreas and everything is fine. I had a PET scan and that is fine. I had a where'd it go? I had a colonoscopy. Where'd it go? I had a colonoscopy and everything is fine. Last year I did a protocol. I did your protocol. Ivermectin, Project Quantum Metazole for 5 to 6 months, and was on for 3 weeks. 1 week and in the what? I don't know how this question ends. All right, so 45 years. Okay, so 45 years. Anyway, so CA19-9 is the usual tumor marker that's considered evidence of pancreatic CFCs, although you can still have elevated CEA. But anyway, but you don't only look at the tumor markers, you look at LDH, you look at ferritin to iron ratio, you look at thymidine kinase, you look at all the metabolic soil context in which this tumor marker is happening, because we don't really know what elevated or decreased tumor markers mean. But but if you've been doing it for like what 4 years, you said, right? Or 4 to 5 years, then 4 to 5 years, then and things are clean, then that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Just keep, you're doing everything I said about the cleansing and the lifestyle and all that stuff. Just keep doing that, and it's going to remain that way. So there's nothing to worry about. I didn't get your question out of that. I got the information. I didn't get your question. But listen, join our CFC group. Go to drlodi.com, join the CFC group so we can talk directly twice a week, like starting tomorrow, Monday at 5 p.m. Arizona time, which is, I guess, Pacific Coast time. All right, everyone, listen, fantastic. We didn't get as much done as I'd like to. We never do. That's why we got to join the groups. But anyway, it was fantastic. And have a fantastic week. And watch out there. There's this guy named Billy Gates, and there's another guy named Klaus the Slob, and there's this other guy. There's just a really freaky. Forget disease land. The scary thing is reality land, where these freaks are. These guys are freaks. Anyway, be careful. And remember who I are. Okay. Anyway, namaste, namaskar, aloha. Next week. Hello. Okay, Hammy. Sawasdee Kap. Hammy, Sawasdee Kap. Anyway, Sawasdee Kap, everyone.